People, on today's episode of Locked On Canucks, Rick Tocchet. That dude talks about diamonds and how we can make a diamond out of this version of the Vancouver Canucks. If you like philosophy, you're going to love the show, I think. Who knows? And is Pavel Bure a lot better than peak Elias Pettersson? We're going to talk to another Canucks fan about that. And then, who knows? Again, Kyle Bowen, when he's alone, who knows what we're going to do on this episode of Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen. That's KYLEBHAWAN. And this is the home of the West Coast Bias. Shout out to Don't Doze Studios. And this is also the home of your Canucks every day. Speaking of which, next week, we're back to regular programming, Monday to Friday, every day, 4:20 p.m., new episodes of this conversation, of this experience. And it's about to start. Last time I checked, it's what? The last day of August. And that is nostalgic, all right, for real. For so many reasons. September tomorrow, which means it's back to school season, right? We grew up with that all our lives, if we were fortunate enough, right? September signaling that time of year. Speaking of year, it also feels as if it's a pre to the new year. You know what I'm saying? I feel as if we have two new year experiences.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I feel as if we get two new year experiences in a year. Not one, not just on January 1st, but we get one in September 1st and I guess December 31st and January 1st. You get what I'm saying? Anywho, hockey show. Enough about the philosophy. Hockey show, Locked On Canucks, your Canucks, every day. Make sure to subscribe and hit the like button if you enjoyed the episode. And if you enjoyed the episode on the podcast side, let us know how we did on the review side. Speaking of which, you can now comment on episodes on Spotify. So if you're listening to this experience on Spotify, get in on the action. You might as well. And maybe you'll be featured on Comment Corner, which is coming at the end of the show. Speaking of the show, on the second segment, we talk to another Canuck fan. Someone other than me. And someone other than Beggsy. Not Trevor, but Beggsy. Now, where is Beggsy? He chose, once again, his family over his fans. And it makes sense every once in a while, but to do it continually makes even more sense, for real. What are we without family? Family. Rick Tocchet, not family, but his coaching staff probably feels a little bit like family. And he took his coaching staff to Whistler. Ian McIntyre, I think he called it a soft launch in his article, talking or centered around the thoughts of Rick Tocchet, and his thoughts got me thinking a lot. He said something that's really important, and not just really important to everyone's life, but more important to the lives of these Canuck players playing in Vancouver. Vancouver, the city, deserves the best. And the best is far, far away. We know it. We're rational. But I think it is time to see big leaps towards being the best right away. In other words, there's a lot of pressure on the Vancouver Canucks, and Rick Tocchet knows this. And he hopes, this is beautiful, he hopes that the Canucks can meet pressure with pressure.
There's a lot of pressure on players. My big thing is, how do we as an organization, as a team, meet pressure with pressure? I know it's a cliche, but heat and pressure, you make a diamond. Can we be a diamond? How do you deal with pressure? Preparation, commitment, being selfless. These aren't just buzzwords. This is from Sportsnet and iMac.
I'll say that again. He hopes that the Canucks can meet pressure with pressure. And we talked about this with Jose yesterday. Well, we understand there's a lot of things that need to change about the previous version of the Vancouver Canucks. And most teams need time to figure it out. They need a handful of games together to figure it out. But that's not the case for these Vancouver Canucks. They need to figure it out not in games, but in training camp. ASAP. They got to go out swinging again in training camp. This team doesn't need Hronek and company to need 10 to 15 games to get things rolling. They're not that team. Let's not test their resilience like that. Let's hit grand slams everywhere in training camp. And is that possible? Probably not. Let's be honest. Let's be real. That's hard to do. And these are your Vancouver Canucks. But this is your Vancouver Canucks led by Pettersson Hughes and then JT Miller and Thatcher Demko. And then you sprinkle in Rick Tocchet and some of this language. You sprinkle in some intensity, some more care. And maybe, just maybe, things can work out. There's so much that goes on in the world of constructing a great, efficient hockey team. And over time, you'd like to believe every once in a while, magic gets sprinkled in, a miracle gets, thrown into the mix. The Canucks need one in September and early October, and I think they're going to get one. Why? Because West Coast bias. I'm not lying to you. Speaking of not lying to you, let's get to that second conversation with the other Trevor in the Canuck YouTube world. This dude is passionate, yo. There was one point in this conversation that had me feeling young again. I didn't get to finish what I wanted to say about the top of the year, sort of, September. It reminds me again of a new year. It reminds me of school starting. It also reminds me of hockey, because after September is October. The new season. Not the new year, the new season. Way more important than the new year. For so many years. And this time around, it's beginning to again feel a little childish, because the passion is finally way up in this thing called my heart. Dude, that was corny. It is what it is. Drake, Vancouver, he was being corny too, sentimental. Oh, why wait to give flowers away to this thing called your life? Where am I going with this? To an ad break here on Locked On Canucks. Yes, hockey does matter, but the NFL does too, okay? Sundays are that day of the week, and Mondays and Thursdays. And again, the NFL is right around the corner, and you need to get ready, and you need to do so with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, they got something crazy going on. Is this only available to our American people who are watching the show? That's got to change, okay? Right now, new customers can get up to what? $200 in bonus bets if they choose to place a $5 bet, and that is guaranteed. And that is crazy. Plus, this is nuts too, okay? Those who choose to bet $5 can get up to what? $100 off their Sunday ticket package off of YouTube and YouTube TV. And now is the best time to join FanDuel, okay? The app is easy to use, and you can do everything and anything and whatever you want and more. Straight up with this app and sports betting, something that I may have to get into this year, okay? For real. This is the year where I want to buy everyone Christmas gifts in my family and do so responsibly. So yeah, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Locked On FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. People, before we get back to the show, baby, I gotta tell you that new episodes of Locked On Canucks will be available wherever you stream podcasts and on YouTube at 4:20 p.m. for no reason at all, okay? New episodes every day at 4:20 p.m. Again, wherever you stream podcasts and on YouTube. Let's get back to the show. Okay, you're back on Locked On Canucks, and we're with the better Trevor, okay? For real. The better Trevor on YouTube who talks Canucks. How you doing, Kemps? I'm going to call you Kemps, okay?
Sounds good. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be here. Love Locked On Canucks.
Dude, we love everything you're doing too. It just oozes passion, man. And it oozes some optimism too. I don't know why. You just feel as if you need to watch a little bit of, again, the better Trevor on YouTube when it comes to the Canucks side of thing, because I need some of that optimism, okay? For real. Speaking of optimism, I'm going to ask every fan this. Do you think you're going to witness a Stanley Cup before you die here in Vancouver?
Yeah, and I hope so. That's I'm not in yet. I am Mr. Optimistic on many things. I'm hoping we're in the right direction right now. So I want to say yes to your answer. That's what I want to say, but I can't say that yet because we haven't made the playoffs in 11 years. Let's just be honest here. So I'm passionate, but I'm realistic and I'm honest. So that is my honest answer, and I'm pumped because I think we are headed in the direction to not only make the playoffs, to compete, contend, and win a championship and bring the Stanley Cup home, baby.
There you go. I love the end in there, man. I love the end in there. And how have you maintained your passion over the years of you being a fan? I guess the first question is, how long have you been a Canucks fan? And again, how have you maintained it? Because life gets busy, man. Families grow, work. There's other things you could do. You could fall in love with hiking. You can fall in love with, I don't know, eating the best burgers around the world. But
Right.
You're going to be passionate about the Canucks for this long. And it's like, why? They haven't really provided, on average, more than mediocrity for the entirety of 50 plus years.
Yeah. So one of my things is I am an extremely faithful and loyal person. So I've been watching the Canucks since I was a kid. I've been watching this team for over 30, 35 years. And I fell in love with this team watching Linden, Bure, that era, Kirk McLean. That was unbelievable. And I loved watching this team. And that goal by Bure, Game 7 against the Flames, to me, still to this day, is the best Canucks moment. He was electric. And so that just got me hooked, and because I'm a faithful, loyal person, I don't mind going through the ups and downs of a season. I don't mind going through the valleys of, it's every team's trying to make the playoffs, and every team is trying to win the Stanley Cup. So this isn't like you're just going to give it over, right? So this is a really long answer to say, at the end of the day, what kind of fan do you want to be? You want to be fickle? Or you want to be faithful? That's the difference right here, brother. And I'm a faithful fan. And yeah, we've had some awful years and seasons, but we've also had some incredible times, and I absolutely love cheering this team on. I mean, have I been discouraged? Oh yeah. But I am all in, and I'm supporting them. I'm like you say, we are all Canucks.
Oh, well, that's what the Canucks said, The Canucks told us that around, I feel as if they started telling us that in the early 2000s, and it stuck. That was the time when I was falling in love with the team. And Trevor, man, honestly, Kemps, that was passionate, bro. And you should put a couple of those things on T-shirts, man, for real.
Well, I started a little bit of that, but I don't know if anyone will buy it.
Hey, man, one day, bro. Come on, man. One day, man. You brought up a lot of things there, loyalty. And we'll talk more about loyalty in maybe 5 minutes. But you also brought up Pavel Bure, as well. I barely watched him. Like when I entered the NHL as a fan, he was at the end of his career, Florida and New York.
Yeah.
So I barely watched him. I obviously seen the highlights over time, the highlights in 480p. But it sounds as if you really gravitate towards that player. I kind of know the answer to the first question. It's this, like, is Pavel Bure the best Canuck of all time when it comes to talent? But number two, like, what player in the NHL today reminds you of Pavel?
Those are great questions. So I just made a video series this summer about top 10 Canucks. And so I've done goalies, defensemen, and forwards. And I did the top 10 forwards, and Pavel Bure was number one on my list. Now, there are lots of great Canucks forwards, so don't get me wrong when I say that. But I've never seen anyone as good as him. No one as electric as he has been. He got the crowd going. In fact, him and Teemu Selanne came to the league at the exact same time, and they were both dynamic, electric players. Like, people are like, who are these guys, right? So I'll tell you a story. I went to a Canucks game, regular season game. I believe it was the same season we played the Rangers in the finals. I saw the Rangers versus Canucks in Vancouver. Okay.
Ooh.
Pavel Bure comes down across the blue line, and they're kind of they were in a power play moment, and he hammers the puck full tilt from the blue line. Like, I don't know why he was playing on the blue line on the power play, but he hammered it. He missed the crossbar by this much. It not only hit the back of the ring, the glass, it wrapped around and shot to the other end into our end within seconds. And the whole crowd, I mean, we didn't score, but the whole crowd was like, what just happened? Like, he did stuff like that. And then you see the play that he did with his foot. He kicks his foot up against Boston and scores those beauty goals. It's like, how do you even do things like that? Like, that's what I mean. Like, he was electric. He was this. Who is like him today? That's a really difficult question, because, like, I think he has similar scoring prowess to, like, Ovechkin, but Ovechkin wasn't as fast. Bure wasn't as big. Bure didn't score like Ovechkin. I mean, Ovechkin is going to be one of the greatest scorers of all time, but they were similar in that way. Now, they both played physical. Like, when Bure got mad, you did not want, like, he would do stupid things. He broke his hand in a fight because he was so mad. He dropped, like, what is a superstar doing? Dropping a glove. Whenever a superstar in Vancouver drops a glove, it's awful, awful for us. Bertuzzi, Bure, he literally broke his hand in that moment. So he just did it all, man. And he was electric. He was quick. That's the kind of guy you want. So I don't know what the comparable comp is, or I guess that's what a comp is. Comparable. I don't know what the comp is to Bure, because it's really hard to compare to someone like that nowadays. But I wish you could have seen him. I saw him live. I've seen him on TV. He was that amazing. And if you talk to anyone during that era, it's like, Bure was the man.
Yeah, and I feel as if you don't even have to be part of this community. You don't have to be a Vancouver Canucks fan to understand that he was that damn good. You know, across the board, he's one of those few Canucks who's recognized as a guy who changed the game. And one guy that kind of reminds me of Pavel, based on the highlights that I've seen and the way he scored goals, is actually a dude who just scored 60 for the first time this season. And I think it's Connor McDavid. The way he scores goals off the rush, and he's more dynamic with the shot. He's more goal hungry this time around. And I feel as if you can put those highlight packages together and maybe see some similarities. Hey, speaking of scoring more goals, I'm really high on Elias Pettersson. I know you're high on him too. I'm not going to throw you under the bus, but you're not as grateful for him as I am. So, what do you want to see more from his game before they hand him the blank check? Because over here on Locked On Canucks, we've been saying that for weeks. Hand him the blank check. It's all good. It's impossible to overpay a guy like Elias. What does he have to do to overly impress you?
Well, okay, I agree with you. I do really like him. And in fact, I would say he's arguably, if not our best player. Like, I don't know if Quinn Hughes is really dynamic too. So I have a really hard time. They just play different positions, right? But Elias Pettersson, we need to win. I'm all in on Elias Pettersson, but I'm pumping the brakes on the overhype. I am not writing a blank check to Elias Pettersson because, first of all, he's an RFA. It's not going to be Johnny Gaudreau who walks out of town, right? It's going to be, we will get something. Now, I do not want to trade him, okay, unless we got some kind of young superstar in return, like 24 years old, this talented. But I'm pumping the brakes here, and I'm not opening up the blank check because I don't want to cripple our cap. Why would we do that? Like, if we think for a moment that we're going to get 13, like we're going to give him $13 million, like he's Austin Matthews money, I think that's ridiculous because it's going to cripple our cap. I mean, we saw play Hranek next year. I know Myers comes off the books, but isn't Hranek going to get the exact same money as Myers? Like, he's got to be probably going to get about $6 million. So it's not like we got a lot of money sitting there. And I get it. Everyone's going to say the cap's going to go up. You don't know that it only went up $1 million last year. We don't know until we see it. So I'm okay with, I thought if we could get him for 10, I would have been happy with that. Now what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from him, I'm like, oh man, it's going to be 11. It might be 12. If it's 12, that's going to be hard. I just hope that whatever we sign him for, he outproduces his contract. So if we sign him for $13 million, cool, but you better produce, man. And that's what I'm worried about him is we are opening up a blank check because he had one amazing year. Is that his career year?
Oh, yeah.
That is a big
away.
question. I mean, we want to say no, right? But did you know there's only 6 Canucks that have hit 100 points in their career? And Pettersson just made that list. With McGillney, we're talking the Twins, right? Like, I believe it's Hendrick and Daniel also got it. Mm-hmm. We're talking Pavel Bure. We're talking like the greats, Naslund. So, but how many times did they did 100 points, right? Are we living in the NHL that 100 points are just another thing? I think it's really hard. Like, no one talks about JT Miller getting 99. No one talks about Bertuzzi getting 97. Like, those are great years. But everyone talks, 100, 102. If he scores 102 again, I can see him asking for 12 and asking for 13. But until then, I think he's doing himself a disservice. He's betting on himself, and that's cool. But I'm pumping the brakes because not only am I passionate, I'm realistic. Like, what are we going to do with the cap if we sign him?
Again, I'm going to just say this. I think it is impossible to overpay for a guy like that because I do see his ceiling being raised, and I think there is a chance that he he puts himself in alien-like territory. And I know we just saw what Jack Eichel did for Vegas as the best two-way center in hockey at the time, and that led to a Stanley Cup, and he was the best player. He could have won the Conn Smythe. I feel as if Pettersson's going to enter that boat based on how much he's going to play, based on his skill set, but he's going to also be able to put up 110 points. And then we're kind of talking about a player that we've never seen before. Now, that's me being really optimistic, right? I'm on that blue and green juice, that blue and green Kool-Aid. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is.
I'm happy, and I hope you're right, man. Like, I'm in for you. I'm not against what you're saying here, but if we're honest, if I'm realistic, if I'm not just drinking the Kool-Aid, but looking and saying he never cracked 70 before this year.
So
right?
if he does what I just said, like, let's say he puts up 110 points, 105 points, he gets nominated for the Selke. Is he, just in having 2 of those types of seasons, is he then, are you okay with him getting Austin Matthews like money?
Yeah, I mean, still 13 million is a lot, but if we're talking 12.5 or 13, who cares? What's 500,000 in those big numbers, right? So you can't not have him. So I understand what people are saying, and I agree with them to a point. But yes, I think, but with him gambling on himself, and if he does another 100-point season, he should be getting that kind of money. Because he's 24 years old with 200-point seasons. That's the kind of guy you want on your roster. So, I mean, he's a difference maker, right? And he not only plays offensively, he's incredible defensively, Pavel, that's where the criticism is he didn't always. But back in those days, those guys didn't always play defense well. So it wasn't just him. There was a lot of players.
I get what you're saying. Back in those days, I'm sorry, it wasn't that. It was obviously a good thing if you're a two-way player, but it wasn't as sexy as it is today, and that's just based on skill overall increasing over the years and needing other things to leverage. Trevor Kempner, the guy. I'm gonna let you plug something at the end of this, but we'd like to thank you again for not only being the best Trevor on Canucks YouTube. Let's be honest and let's be real. This dude's the best Trevor
I
on
like
Canucks
Beggs.
YouTube.
I'm
But
a fan of his. I think he does great work. You guys are a
I
good
know.
team.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. Not only for being that, but for just bringing the optimism. I think some people might some people get turned off by like the irrational or the not being rational / being overly optimistic. But you went on a spiel about 12 minutes ago. That shit, I'll bleep that out. That boiled my heart, man. For real. It got me excited for October and ultimately
Totally.
September, which is tomorrow. So again, thank you so much for your time and yeah, take the floor.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for having me here because I love making content that's passionate, realistic, and honest. And so I find that people get a little too crazy, and that's fine. I don't. There's nothing wrong with fandom, right? But at the end of the day, I love making content, and I love being a part of this. I love being a part of the Canucks community. There's a lot of good Canucks content out there, and I just like being part of that, and I just love what you guys are doing. And I'm a big fan of the whole Locked On series. I mean, I'm a big Packers fan like you are. I watch
Mm,
lots of Locked On Packers. That guy is unbelievably good. So there's a
yeah.
lot of good content, and I'm just so thankful. So I'm pumping out tons and tons of videos. You can follow me on Twitter. You know what's funny is I got a lot of popularity on YouTube, but I mean, I'm not. Nobody's following me on Twitter. Like it's crazy. So, yeah. Anyways, that's hilarious when it comes to
Mhm.
Canuck. Maybe it just says something about the Canucks content that's out there, or maybe they just don't know about me yet. But
It's
I
probably
appreciate you
that.
having me on.
It's probably that, and like everything, man, in due time, keep doing you, just keep being honest and passionate and realistic, and most importantly, again, do you. And part of doing you is, most importantly, being a Green Bay Packers fan. Let's be real. Let's be honest,
That's right.
man.
Right.
Loyalty. That's where you learn this whole loyalty thing from. Like you define loyalty in a whole different way, man. For real. You should
Mhm.
you should get on the Joe Rogan podcast just to describe loyalty, and it'll change the world. And then Joe Rogan could be like, "Yo, where did you learn that from?" And you could say, "Yo, being a Green Bay Packers fan, because that is the most loyal thing in sports, for real." Anyways, thanks again for hopping on. We'll get to the other side here on Locked On Canucks. Okay. We're back here on Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every day. One love to the other Trevor. Kempner Canucks for doing his thing and laying down the passion, bro. That dude's a good dude. Did that guy go to the Drake concert? Let us know in the comments below. I want to know. Not that it matters, but I just want to know. Who enjoys Drake and also enjoys Locked On Canucks? Is there only one of us here? Trevor Beggs, the other guy on the program, who's supposed to be here, but again, family over fans. He hates Drake, but loves him at the same time. That's the ultimate corny dude right there. He'll literally say, I got a top 30 list of Drake, but also say he's not a fan. That's something else. Speaking of the fans, let's get to the best part of the show, Comment Corner here on Locked On Canucks.
Welcome to Comment Corner, powered by Paraphrasing.
This comment comes from our friend Dwayne.
Kuzmenko can score anywhere from 38 to 43 goals this season, and when he does, he'll have Bali to give a bit of credit to. Let players live and then live up to expectation.
Thanks so much to Dwayne for leaving the comment. I think I'm saying the name right. I could be wrong. I struggle on pronunciation because I only started reading books at the age of 23. I wasn't ready, but then I became ready, if you know what I mean. Anyways, thanks for the comment, and this is correct. We shouldn't care. And I'm curious to see if Kuzmenko can, do him, be Kuzmenko again, improve, thus leading to the Canucks being less concerned when more players want to just, escape and do things differently away from the team. Just be them in the summer. True professionals can and will take care of business. And for a guy again that was one of the best players in the KHL and then was able to do what he did in Vancouver, I'm pretty sure that this guy's wired right. Let him be personal. Let him be himself, and let him translate that fluidity onto the ice. This all being said, I did read something again in that Ian McIntyre piece on Sportsnet that touched on Rick Tocchett's thoughts, and he alluded to the fact how they don't have a practice facility yet, and that makes it a little bit more harder to keep everyone under the same umbrella when it comes to everything hockey. Slash, it makes it harder for players to want to come back to Vancouver a little bit early. And I think he ended it off by saying the best teams do have their own practice facilities. And before I read this, I didn't care much for it, but it all makes too much sense, right? The best teams have practice facilities, aka the best teams have a facility that's easy to access for everyone under your organization. Okay, it's at their fingertips. They don't have to go to plan A to plan B to plan C to get some ice time, and maybe it's not that hard. And maybe they could still do all this work on the toilet, right? Scheduling, their ice times. But when things are easier, they're better. And you want that edge in one of the best leagues in the world of sport, right? The Stanley Cup is the most difficult cup to win. You want the edge. Practice facility, it's a big thing. Yeah, this is why, come on, man. This is why the Canucks got to win ASAP, right? So they can get a practice facility, so they can sign Pettersson, extend him, do their thing with ease, and then make the playoffs and make a little bit more money so those things can happen because I'm guessing that's expensive, right? That's the second bleep. Anyways, another episode of Locked On Canucks just went by, just like that, on the network. Remember, it's your Canucks every day. Subscribe, hit the like button, and leave us a review wherever you listened to this on. And again, Spotify. You can comment if you're listening to this on Spotify on today's episode, and do so you can get involved in the conversation and be a part of this, man. The talk, the experience. For real, for real, for real. We'll be back tomorrow. Shout out to FanDuel and shout out to you. Do you, one love, don't litter, and take care, man. For real, we're all here to share. Sharing is caring, right? Let's get out of here. Have a good morning, a good afternoon, a good night. We don't know when you're watching or listening to this, but we appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.